When you grow old, make sure to leave yourself 3 good ways out to avoid a bleak late life. When you grow old, if your spouse passes away before you, you should do these 4 things to avoid a bleak future. Everyone hopes to remain young forever, but reality often disappoints. Everyone grows old and eventually turns to dust. The longest companion in your life isn't your children or your parents, it's your spouse. When you reach the age of walking with a cane, having your spouse by your side to chat with, reminisce about the good times of youth, becomes a beautiful scenery. Unfortunately, good times don't last forever. There will come a day when your spouse will pass away. So, how can you spend the rest of your life peacefully? Here are 4 suggestions. 1. Accept the natural cycle of life and death. When Grandpa Zhang in the neighborhood was seriously ill, his family was very sad. However, Grandpa Zhang's spouse said that the one who passes away first is the blessed one. At that moment, I saw this fact. The one who passes away first, their spouse becomes their caregiver before they leave. Moreover, there will never be such warm companionship in this world again. In terms of daily life, the spouse is very thoughtful, accurately grasping the taste of 3 meals a day. They've tasted the best delicacies in life, and most importantly, they've been spiritually uplifted. Although they are in great pain, it's not too unbearable. Conversely, the one who follows, after losing their spouse, faces illness and pain alone, suffering a heavy blow to their soul. Even though there are relatives to take care of them, they will never be as attentive as their spouse, nor will they experience the same telepathic connection. In fact, elderly couples become each other's caregivers, squabbling throughout their lives, yet becoming more loving as they grow old. All unpleasantness disappears in the end. 2. Learn to rely on your children. After your spouse passes away, who else can you rely on? There's a saying, it's better to rely on yourself than on others. But when you can't even walk and serve meals, can you still rely on yourself? It's useless to insist on being strong. You have to accept aging and not be misled by the chicken soup for the soul. If you really sever ties with your children, you will be very sad. Even if your children are not able to accompany you every day, their concern will always be there. They will call you every once in a while, and you can have family gatherings on holidays. In such a beautiful life, you need to learn to enjoy it. You should try to treat everyone equally and avoid favoritism. Some elderly people divide their property into several parts, giving the least to the most filial child, which disrupts the peace of the entire family. People always forget their conscience for profit, even siblings who are blood relatives. Property distribution should be fair, and children should care for their parents equally. Discuss matters together, be easy to talk to, and everything will be easier. A harmonious family leads to prosperity. You should try not to burden your children, refrain from gossiping, and avoid comparing with others, stirring up family conflicts. A wise elder always turns a blind eye and a deaf ear, leading a simple life. 3. Don't reject late life romance, but don't marry casually. Life changes dramatically in old age. When your spouse and friends pass away one after another, living with your children may lead to conflicts due to differences in habits and lifestyle. But living alone is very lonely, and once you fall ill, there will be no one to take care of you, leading to a particularly miserable old age that most people don't want to experience. Therefore, many elderly people seek another partner after entering old age. Regardless of age, everyone has the right to pursue love and happiness in their later years. After reaching old age, some elderly people want to pursue late life romance, which is understandable. At least, having someone to talk to and take care of you in your old age is comforting. If you can find a suitable partner, it's quite good, and your children will also be relieved. However, late life romance is a sensitive issue. According to surveys, remarriage among the elderly poses many problems due to traditional beliefs and disputes over property and support obligations. Grandpa Zhang's spouse passed away when he was in his 50s. After living alone for a few years, Grandpa Zhang, in his 60s with a pension, felt lonely. So, he thought about late life romance. Grandpa Zhang had a daughter who fully supported him in finding a companion in his later years. Grandpa Zhang hoped to enjoy the happiness of his twilight years and relieve his daughter's burden. Just a few days ago, Grandpa Zhang met a woman at a health product store where he attended lectures. This lady, whom he got to know during the lectures, seemed like a suitable companion for him. Initially, during their courtship, the lady's requests to Grandpa Zhang were not excessive. Sometimes she just asked him to top up her phone credit or buy her some clothes. But gradually, her demands became more and more unreasonable. Grandpa Zhang was not a stingy person. He believed that finding true love in old age was not easy and was willing to make some sacrifices. However, the lady eventually went too far, swindling all of Grandpa Zhang's savings. She disappeared after taking only tens of thousands of yuan, which Grandpa Zhang had painstakingly saved. Grandpa Zhang couldn't believe that the person who had promised to spend his twilight years with him had vanished, taking all his property. Now, he's left alone, filled with regret. As the saying goes, pity the hearts of parents throughout the world. As a mother, wanting to raise money to help her son make a fresh start, marrying a wealthy person is undoubtedly a good way. Of course, not all elderly people are malicious. Some elderly people are kind-hearted and willing to pursue late-life romance until the end. Therefore, the elderly must remain rational and not let love cloud their judgment. They should ignore those who are only interested in material gain. If you can't see the true nature of a relationship for a while, take your time. Given time, you'll understand. Because there are indeed many cases where late life romance leaves people with nothing. Learn from these experiences. 4. Learn to enjoy solitude. 100 Years of Solitude says, life has never been without loneliness, existing independently like shadows in the meaning of life, whether we are born, grow up, love each other, succeed or fail, until the very end. Loneliness is inevitable. Even if your spouse is by your side, they won't fully understand you. There will be differences in perception and thought between people. When you live alone, don't be overly sad. Instead, find ways to adjust yourself. For example, you can read books, practice writing, watch a favorite movie, or play cards with a group of friends. If you close yourself off, your sense of loneliness will only magnify, and no one will be able to make you happy. No matter what age you are or what you've been through, always hold on to the good, as everything originates from the heart. If your heart is warm, everything will be fine. As the saying goes, the elderly are like dragons, whoever they rely on becomes poor. From an objective point of view, elderly parents are a burden to their children as they age. After all, it's not easy to take parents with you when working in another city, and it's difficult to spend a lot of time with them. The children have their own small families, and if the family isn't wealthy, they'll worry about providing monthly support. Even if the family is wealthy, giving money to parents still depends on the attitude of their spouse. Remember, respecting the elderly and loving the young is a traditional virtue. It's easy to put oneself in another's shoes. As parents, consider the difficulties of your children. From the age of 40 or 50, start preparing for retirement financially and in terms of housing. Don't burden your children economically. As children, treat your elderly parents like children, embracing them as your parents did when you were young. May all the elderly in the world be cared for, have someone to rely on, and find joy. That's all for today's sharing. Thank you very much for watching Buddha Zen. If you like Buddha Zen Wishdown, don't forget to subscribe and share. You'll never be alone here.